Folks, we had an opportunity to take the brand new Lexus RCF on the track, and it kicked ass. It's fast, it's a little heavy, but it's a great car on the track.
But we've only driven on the road for like 50 feet to park it. So of course, coming up next, we want to see if this race-ready Lexus is also road-ready, and that is coming up
on the Fast Lane 5.
If you like the IS and you like the GS, you'll certainly like the RCF. The interior is kind of a blend of both of those. It's very formal, it's very luxurious, but everything you touch is soft. The steering wheel is nice and thick to give you that sports car feel, and the seats are very supportive. If there is one issue though, is that it's very tight. Maybe it's just my big American ass, but this car, you have to be a skinny mini to really feel comfortable in it, because these seats, while supportive, for big guys like me, are certainly on the tight side.
This is one of my favorite Lexus in terms of design. In fact, it's one of my favorite Toyotas, and a lot of you guys like it too, and I know you do because you've been writing about it. It's gorgeous. Starting back here from this fantastic design tail, it's not too busy, and at the same time, it's artistically crafted and slap-worthy. On top of that, it has these neat little vortex generators. I don't know how effective they truly are, but they look really cool close up. Now, as for the rest of the car, yes, it has a tight cockpit, but because of that, you have a nice slick roofline. And to me, one of the most important parts is this really cool muscular front end with all these scoops and everything. Well, guess what? They're all functional. Thank you, God. That means that air going in pulls heat out. If it's the brakes, the engine, whatever it is, it's pulling the heat out of the car, so it's actually functional. Because I know you guys can't stand it when you see these massive grills and think, oh my God, it's all fake. Nope, a majority of this right up here is real. And you know what? That on top of the fact that this red is absolutely stunning, I want to arrest myself just for looking at it.
Now, this engine generates a lot of heat. How do you cool it down?
Several ways, actually. First and foremost, you're going to see when I close the hood, we have the vent here, so that's going to allow air to get out, heat to get out of there. Also, too, these fenders, these are functional. As opposed to the ISF, where it was purely cosmetic, this actually allows air to flow out. Also, too, up front, you know, that spindle grille just doesn't look pretty, but it is functional. So this intakes here are actually going to help cool the brakes. And then here we have for the engine,
There's two of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to figure out which one's on what side.
Yeah.
Putting you on the spot here.
Yeah. The engine oil cooler and transmission cooler over there on the outside.
And talk about the wheels. What size are they?
19-inch wheels, and we're using the Michelin Super Sport Pilot Super Sport. Sorry.
Are there different wheels available?
Yeah, 3 different wheels. This is the high-end wheel, so we have different grades. The 10-spoke is a standard wheel. We also have a mid-grade, and this is the really kind of almost a machine finish with a graphite finish on it.
right, Nathan, there is a lot of technology we got to talk about before we even talk about how this thing drives, right?
Oh, God, there's so much stuff in this car.
Yeah. First of all, there's this little rotator knob right here, and you can switch to Eco, which obviously changes the way the engine responds, turns off the air conditioning at certain times, yada, 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 to give you better fuel economy. We don't care about that.
No, we don't. No.
There is an F Sport, which changes your central display.
That's right. It changes the display. It changes the steering in terms of its overall feel and firmness. It changes the acceleration, the suspension setting. It changes a few things.
And then there's also Sport Plus, which makes it really a track tool, basically.
Yeah, basically you could go onto any track and have a really good time with this car.
Now, there's another button below it here that says TVD, and that's basically torque vectoring.
Yep.
And this is the model that has actually active torque vectoring, so there are electric motors in the differential.
That's right.
So that when you're going around a corner, it actually accelerates the wheels that are on the outside of that corner to help bring the back end around.
That's right. Now, I had an opportunity to try that over the torsion regular rear end that they have in this car, right?
Which also does the same thing, but in a passive mechanical way.
Exactly. And it is different. It felt like the hand of God was stopping me from doing something really stupid and accelerating me around the corner. And it felt very unnatural to me, but at the same time, it saved my bacon from, having the rear end step out. So it works. All the electronics, all the goodies, all the gizmos, all the gadgets, they all work. It does its job.
And even 5 years ago, all this stuff was much more intrusive.
Yeah.
So now it's all doing it, but it's doing it in such a way that it's making you be the star driver, and you don't necessarily know that there's all this kind of magic going on underneath the skin of the car that's keeping you on the track, or in this case, changing the way that the thing drives from being very sporty to being very relaxed. But let's go back into just regular mode, right? Normal, because we've done the track review. Now let's talk about how it drives as a normal, everyday car.
Well, first of all, the interior, the cockpit. It does make a difference for those of you who don't like tight cockpits, because that's exactly what this is.
That's what she said.
It's funny. If you've driven the Scion FRS, which has a tiny cockpit, you'd be used to this. This is a 467 horsepower engine. It puts out 389 pound-feet of torque. And this is a 5-liter V8. Now, this is a similar engine to the one it replaces, except for all the internal components, or a majority of them, have been replaced with higher-end components, including titanium and lots of other neat little things in there. And the whole point is that you have a much larger, more powerful engine hooked up to an 8-speed automatic transmission that goes to the rear wheels. And the proof is in the pudding with this car, because on the track, Roman and I have absolutely torn it up. It is fast, it's brutal, and in some ways, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it's a good engine, and I enjoy it, and so does Roman, but everybody's going to smaller displacement engines with turbochargers, and here's Lexus going to a big, juicy V8. I don't mind, it's awesome, but it's also something that kind of goes against convention, and maybe that's the point. Sounds amazing. Listen to this, guys.
That's fake.
Yeah, they pipe in. But what they're doing is they're augmenting the sound. They're not creating a secondary noise on top of it. They're just giving you the sound that they feel.
Yeah, but they all say that.
Yeah, they do. Who knows what's real?
What trickery is going on?
But from the outside, it sounds really awesome, too. And there's no trickery on the outside, right?
Yeah.
Except for the exhaust that's stacked. It really doesn't make a difference that it's stacked. That's just really for a visual thing.
Trick about all these cars, right? Even the competitor cars, is if you want, on one hand, a kind of a grand touring car, on the other hand, a track tool, right?
Right.
There are two ends of the same spectrum. One, you want suspension that's really taut, steering that's really tight, and the other, you want a more relaxed car that kind of lets you relax and go down the road without beating you up too much. So where does that fall in that spectrum? Or
well,
where does this fall?
This does feel firm.
It is firm.
But it's not punishing at all. These roads are not the best, and it seems to be doing just fine going over the roads. The seating position for a big guy, well, the seats, there's enough support for me, but I definitely feel like if I go one size bigger, then I might not fit so well in the seat, In terms of the overall ride,
It's not an XL car.
No, it's not an XL. XXL. I'd say it's an XL, but not an XXL.
XXL. Okay, fair enough.
But the road noise is kind of pronounced. You can really hear it. I mean, we were just driving down. I wasn't really going that fast. You could hear the tires. See these two inlets? Really cool because they're actually functional. They work to cool components. It's amazing because in so many cases you have these things and they do nothing. It's a wide car. It's not super wide. It's not like a Corvette or the Alfa Romeo 4C, which felt like it was as wide as a truck. This doesn't feel like that, but you definitely have the impression that there's girth to the car. It is a heavy car. It feels heavy on the track. It gets around great, but it does feel heavy. You know what I mean? And if you expect to have people in the back seat, well, if you have small children or grandchildren, you might get away with it, but adults, no.
You know what impresses me most about this car is that Lexus is straddling the line between sports car and luxury car, right? They've taken two things that don't belong together, which is luxury and sport, and have stuck it together, and, you know, for the most part, it really works.
It does work. In some ways, this is a more driver-friendly car than something like an M4, because the M4 really is a track tool. That thing just absolutely is awesome when you're pushing it. But when you're cruising along and everything else, this feels a lot more civilized, and the ride doesn't feel quite as firm as the M4 did.
And then when you put it into Sport Plus, that's really where you can have some fun with the vehicle. That has an effect on the steering as well as the throttle response. Also vehicle dynamics integrated management, which is our traction control and ABS and all those safety systems. It actually kind of lowers the guardrails, if you will, and lets you have a little more fun as you would expect when you get this vehicle out on the track.
Can you completely turn it off and you take away those guardrails?
You can minimize them, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
yep. Not recommended unless you know, it's funny, everybody thinks they're a great driver, but that's the reason those are in effect is to, you know, kind of be that guardian angel when needed.
What are you at? Hardly any revs there, right? You're barely above 1,000.
No, I'm at like 1,200 RPM.
1,200 RPM, and you can just, yeah, whereas when you have a more high-strung twin-turbo powered 6-cylinder, right, then you're going to feel that difference as opposed to this kind of loping big V8 that kind of just pushes you along. Having said that, Nathan, you know, it's still a pretty firm car. You're going over those bumps.
You're feeling it.
Yeah, you're feeling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is about every imaginable safety electronic technology in here that you can have, right? Mm-hmm. Lane departure, lane warning. I mean, you can get all that stuff, and that's also part of the entry cost. It starts at $62,000, but realistically, you're probably looking more like 72. And if you really want one that's, you know, loaded, probably 80,000.
Probably, but then again, look at the prices of the competition, and this actually undercuts a lot of them. Here's the other important part about that whole price thing. Consider this. You're talking about an engine that is putting out well over 400 horsepower.
Or well over 450.
Yeah. And it is highly developed. They spend a long time sweating the details, building the engine. And
titanium.
It's titanium components in there.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a car that is built to go around the track pretty quickly with the highest possible technology that is available for a car in this class. And yet you're only starting at the low 60s. And I think that's incredible. I think this car is a deal. Now, once you start going up to having like a carbon fiber roof, and then you change the rear end around, going from the torsion to the TBD.
It gets expensive.
It gets very expensive, but you know what? You don't need all that stuff.
All right, Nathan, on the TFL scale of buy it, lease it, rent it, or forget it, what do we give the RCF?
Well, we're going to have to give a wait a minute because we got to get it up to Colorado in order to really give it a thorough going over.
But you have to give them something.
Yeah, and here's the something. It's fast. It looks fantastic. It's relatively comfortable, although you got to admit, very tight inside. And finally, at least for me, it's a little heavy on the track.
And for me, it's a lot of fun. As always, this is Roman
and Nathan
saying thanks for watching, and check out tflcar.com for more news, views,
and real world reviews.
Ciao, let's drive it some more.
Yeah.